Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show Handing the Shame Back. I'm Gloria Masters, and I'll be hosting you today. We are very lucky to have a guest all the way from Memphis, Tennessee, with us today, and her name's Genisha. And before we get into all of this, because as you know, this is a show dedicated to survivors of child sexual abuse here in Aotearoa and across the world. So just for some new additions to our audience, just like to advise that should you feel at all triggered, please feel free to stop watching this and go and look at the show notes where you'll be directed for some help. Very grateful to be able to do this, and I think it's a really powerful thing we're doing. So Genisha joins us all the way, as I said, from Memphis, Tennessee. She's a mum, she's a singer, she's an author, but wait, there's more. She's also a speaker, and she speaks on trauma and on the topic we're looking at today. And her whole kind of ethos is around overcoming the trauma, coming out of the dark and into the light. So welcome, Genisha. It's a real pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me. I am excited to get started. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I am very excited.
Okay. So look, one of the things we have in common is child sexual abuse. And I wondered if you're comfortable to maybe give a brief overview of what you've gone through as a child and where kind of your story right from there to where you are sitting today.
I believe for me, it started in infancy. There's a home video, where I'm being kissed in the mouth, and it's like I'm a grown woman, but I'm not. I'm a little baby. The earliest memory I have, I think I was about 18 months. That number keeps sticking with me, so I'm going to stick with that. And we were at my grandparents' house, and I didn't want to go to sleep because I didn't want my mom to leave me. And I remember being adamant about if I fall asleep, she's going to put me down and leave me. And I guess I cried so hard. You know, of course, when you cry, you get sleepy. And I fell asleep. And I remember waking up, and there was my dad coming towards me, and it goes dark. But I do remember being afraid. And I do remember crying even harder. And I was thinking, I don't want you, I want my mom. So outside of that, I think I suppressed a lot of it, and it came up in spurts. So when my sons were babies, I was staying with a friend, and a news came on where a 3-year-old, I think she was either 3 or 4, she had died because her father tried to fully penetrate her. And I went into a rage. I was like, that's not fair. She got to die and I had to live here. And I remembered being 4 years old, between 3 and 4. And I also remembered that was the very first time I tried to commit suicide. In my 4-year-old mind, I planned on packing our clothes, taking my brother to my aunt and uncle's house. Why did I pack my clothes? I don't know, but I'm 4, so I pack our clothes, and my goal was to drop him off. And then I lived in New York at the time, so it's easy to run in traffic and get run over by anything. And there you go. And then a thought came to me, what if the driver gets in trouble for him? So I wrote a note to the police officer saying, please don't blame the driver. I ran out into the street on purpose. Now, I don't know if the note really said that or not, but that was what I thought it said because I'm 4.
Yes.
And I remember being angry with God and saying, if this is my life, I don't want to live it. So, of course, my mom catches me packing. I have to put everything back into the drawers, and I didn't get to do what I thought I was going to do. But I was serious about that. It continued, but I seriously don't remember all of it. There are times where I remember being in the bathtub, and of course, he would come in and my whole mood would change. And I remember turning 18, telling my mom, what if Dad did this to me? And I saw on her face, wow, you remember that? But she said with her mouth, it never happened. And from that point forward, I became the liar. I became paranoid schizophrenic and all kinds of names she could think of to call me. He wasn't the only one. At the age of 12, I miscarried. And I don't talk about that a lot because I felt like I wasn't allowed to say it. It wasn't even acknowledged that I was pregnant. But my cousin and a friend that he brought in, they raped me together. I think about a month later, I realized I didn't have a menstrual. My mom says, no, you're just starting out. And sometimes they skip. A month after that, it was on a Saturday. I woke up feeling grumpy. Couldn't explain the grumpy, wasn't hungry, didn't want anything, didn't want to be bothered. Later on that day, I was starving, and it was like I had to eat everything in front of me. And then I thought maybe I ate too much because my stomach just started cramping really badly. And now that I've actually had kids, it did feel like labor, but of course I'm 12, I don't know. And we go to a play and I'm balled up on the floor because I can't sit up, I can't straighten out. And I'm just balled up, like I can't explain how hard it hurts. Yeah. And then when I finally go to the bathroom, I let out all this blood, but I'm thinking, oh my gosh, my menstrual is starting, and that's why. But I didn't bleed anymore until the next time. And when I explained everything to my doctor, of course, I'm 18 years old, she said it sounded like a miscarriage. And I've dreamt about the baby girl. I think it was a baby girl. Yeah. And I named her and everything. I'm actually getting her a box to put together to celebrate because she woke me up on her birthday last year. And when I did the numbers, I realized that's why I had the dream about her.
Yeah.
But
wow.
I've never been a virgin. And I know people say if someone takes it from you, it doesn't count. But to me, it does. Because I never wanted to have sex until I got married. And I thought my husband and I would share that together. And I have been raped so many times, I stopped counting. And I have been molested or whatever so many times, it was normal behavior.
Yeah.
And I believe that's why we moved from New York. I think my dad got caught. I don't know if it was something I said or something he did to someone else, because I found out I wasn't the only one he was messing around with. So.
Okay. Was that another person in your family or a friend or neighbors?
It was a friend of my mom's, a few of her friends. And even when we lived in Georgia, he was banned from going to, it's a place where you could go play ball, play basketball, whatever, kind of like a Planet Fitness type situation. But the women were saying he was sexually harassing them. And I never went there. So no one could say I told anybody anything. But she was still stuck in everybody else is lying. And I was like, they're all saying the same thing.
Did you have anyone, Genisha, in your family or any safe adult you could talk to? Was there anyone who believed you? Or
Even when we would go to church, I would try and tell somebody, and they would say, "You can trust me or confide in me," but they would only call my parents and tell them what I was saying. I never got away. I never got help. Never got anything. And one of the ladies who I thought would be like a big sister to me even said, called me and said that I was lying and
wow.
broke me. So I just stopped talking. I stopped talking.
What do you
And
put
I
that
didn't get to move out until.
what do you put that down to, in your opinion, now as an adult and an amazing adult survivor, Genisha? Looking back, what do you put that down to? That the very first response from most people is you're lying. How does that, in your mind, when I think about that, I think, gosh, that's quite a leap, isn't it? For a beautiful child to come to someone and find the courage to speak and disclose, and they immediately tell you you're lying. What does that tell you about people?
At that time, I couldn't believe that everything he said would happen. He told me when I was little, my mother would never believe me. He said she was too stupid to believe me because she believed everything he said. And I got offended and I defended my mom and I got beat for that.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you're not going to call her stupid. But when she took his side, I said, wow.
And then you had people at the church and other people you'd been trying to tell, and they immediately told you were lying. So I guess, what does that tell us about the mindset of society, that they would rather blame survivors, young girls?
That say the truth.
Yeah.
I think when I wrote the book that I'm promoting now, the very first one, it was centered around what I had gone through, but I changed it up. I talked about the different things I had gone through with different people, but I didn't I didn't tell that story. I made up a story and used the stuff that happened like that. And it was easier for me to do it that way because I was still dealing with what happened to me, but I didn't have to be specific. And she asked me, why do you call it fiction? And I was like, you were the first person who said I was lying. Why would I not call it fiction?
Wow.
It scared me when she asked me that. And I was like, it was a dream I had. I don't know these people. And I just ran and hid behind the fact that it was a dream and I don't know these people. But I wasn't expecting her to read it and believe what she read. I thought she would still go back into, oh, you're still telling this story.
Wow. So there was a part of her, it seems, that did believe or did actually have knowledge of this.
And the thing is, it frustrated me because even my uncle said, well, there were times I would see him, like my dad used to beat us like we were nothing. And he would just stand there and watch, like you're not going to say nothing or do anything. Or he would see him coming in the bathroom, like, she's 7 years old. Why is he in there with her?
Yeah.
She should be able to give her own self a bath. And I was like, so you just watched.
Yeah.
To me, that made him no better.
Yeah. And you know, they one of the definitions of kind of evil existing is actually evil exists when good people do nothing. And, you know, that perhaps is where your uncle may have fit into this. Genisha, what's the name of your book? Do you have a copy with you?
Sure. I put it up somewhere. I don't remember where.
What's the name of it? So for our audience, in case they would like to have a look.
It's a 4-part series. The first book is called The Commons. The second one is called Amani. The third is called Pete and Repeat. And the fourth is called The Community. And what you see in all of these is you see how people are responding to the kept secrets, but they don't know that they're secrets. So they don't know why they are the way they are because of all of the dark secrets. And then in Amani, you see a mother who's pushing through her past to find out the whys and get her family together. In Pete and Repeat, you pretty much see how the history is repeating itself because no one is talking about it. Yeah. But you also see the fight to get through all of the bad stuff so that they can have a family unit. And in the Community, you see she finally finds out what she probably didn't want to know in the first place. And not that good things aren't happening, a lot of good things happen, but she gets to the nitty-gritty and she looks in the mirror and she sees something that she doesn't really like. But she is determined to not let that go into her future. Wow. So at the end of this book, it leads to another book that I have to write about, but I'm nervous because this woman is really, really, she's dark. She doesn't even have eye color. When I saw her, her eyes were black. You know how we have the whites of the eyes, and then we have the eyeball, and then of course your lens, which is brown, blue, green. Her lens is black. And I didn't even want to look at her when I had to write about her for the half a second I wrote about her in one of the books. I was just like, okay, I don't want to talk about her for a long time. But
how was that experience though for you? Because it really sounds like a fascinating, you know, autobiography actually in 4 parts. Is it?
I have an amazing mentor, and when I would get to the hard parts, I would tell her, I do this. I can't write this part because it hurts. And she would talk me through it. And then I eventually got to a point where I couldn't say can't. So I had to find a different word. I don't want to do this. I do not want to write this part. I don't like this part of the story. I need this part of the story to be nice. And she would say, but if you change it, how can you help somebody else? And I was like, well, I hope nobody else has really had this kind of, maybe I'm it. Maybe I'm like the only one, or, you know, what if I did make it up? What if it was made up? Let's just say it was made up. I made it up. I lied. Okay. So I don't have to write this part of the story. And she would say, is that the truth? And I was like, why are you asking me all these questions? Why can't you just go with the flow of stuff? I've had to cry through it. I used to be a cutter, and, you know, it was just, I fought hard. But eventually I made it through, and I just finished the rewrite on the last story. And so all of those will be published by my relaunch in April. And then I have more books to write I've written about 150 so far. So I'm just doing rewrites on all of them.
150 books.
Yeah, some of them are poetry. Some of them are nonfiction. I wrote about my addiction to depression. I didn't even realize that you could do that until I saw what I was doing, and I said, "Wow." So I call it the other side of Munchausen's, my addiction to depression, because there were times where I kind of forced depression just so that I could get the attention that it brought, not realizing that wasn't the kind of attention that I really needed or wanted. So
it's a lot. It sounds like a big, big journey of self-discovery. And I just want to, but I think you made a really interesting point where you're making a lot, actually. I'm trying to keep up with you. But
sorry.
what, no, it's great. What I'm loving, Genisha, is your absolute rawness. And I applaud you for our audience out there. You know, for some people, they can so understand and relate to what you're talking about. And I guess what's really grabbed me is it's not so much the enormity of it, because that stands alone. There's also the simple fact that a part of you never actually wanted to believe that it actually happened. There was a part of you that
Yeah.
was really hoping, fingers crossed, that you'd made it up and that it couldn't possibly be true. And I guess what I'm hearing in that is that for all of us survivors, wow, wouldn't that be something? If we were all so imaginative and we could all just make this up and it never happened. And I guess the power behind that for you, Genisha, and what people can take from that is it did happen. You've been able to face into it. One person hearing your story may give them some hope, actually, that they can face into theirs. So I'm with you. I wish it never happened either. But you didn't make it up, and you're sitting here. No,
No, I
to
didn't.
tell us that. I know it's not a question. I can see it in you. But
Yeah.
for you, as you're thinking about all of this, and you talk about the malevolence and the darkness and some of the people, you know, you've talked about that woman. How was she a feature in this for you?
Um, there were a few women,
Yeah.
because I even, um, I've never really told anybody this. I just, maybe if I've never really talked about this part,
Okay.
but she was a play cousin, and I guess she's a god sister now,
Okay.
but she's done stuff.
Yeah.
So the way I talk about her is through one of the main characters in the story. Her name is Helen.
Yeah.
And she has a heart of gold, but because of what she's been through, and she learned to be the bully first. And so because she learned to be the bully first, she didn't know how to turn that off. And it became stronger and more evil as she grew. So this god sister, whatever, you know how sometimes as kids you take showers with your cousins, or
Yeah.
it's no big deal to take a bath together.
Yeah.
I took a bath with my brother forever before we didn't take baths together. I remember, and I don't know how many times she's done this, but this one particular time sticks out. I think she and my cousin did stuff to me together, because we would be at my aunt's house, and that was a comfortable situation. But she was be like, let's hump. And I be like, no, I don't, but before I could get my answer all the way out, she's already doing it. So
Yeah.
I remember I'm just locking up like this in the shower. Like, I just want the shower to be over now.
Gosh, it's just it's so insidious, isn't it? It's so, as children, when you talk about your cousin, it's kind of like it's such a natural thing, isn't it, for children and cousins to bath together, to run around together, to do all that kind of normal childhood stuff, sometimes exploratory, but just that feeling of lack of safety actually, where you end up. And I guess that takes me to something I wanted to discuss with you. When we're traumatized, there used to be that there was flight, fight, or freeze were the three options. There's now a fourth one, which is fawn, which means I'm going to really, agree with everything you say and do, and you're great, and I don't have any needs. I just expect, you know what you're doing, and I'll follow you, as a way to keep us safe. And I guess when I listened to you and you talked about how she became the bully first, almost became the bully to manage, it just took me to fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And I wondered for you if you were ever able to give thought to it about which of those four you may have been.
I think in the beginning, I had a lot of fight.
Yeah.
And after so long, I would try and get away. And when I couldn't physically get away, I got away in my mind. I would daydream so hard, I wouldn't feel anything. And then I guess eventually, I think I may have done all of them. I had to pretend to like these people in front of other people.
Of course.
And I had to pretend that I wasn't afraid of them and that everything was normal in front of other people. And, and the thing was, I really did love them. I didn't hate them. I just didn't like what they were doing. So I think I've done all of them, because after a while, fighting, just give in to whatever.
It's interesting you say that. I think what tends to happen is, we can adapt and survive the best way we can. I think it's interesting when you consider what a trauma response looks like, and it seems like you were fairly creative actually in your ability to defend against as much as a small child or a slightly older child could. And thanking ourselves and appreciating ourselves for that is really important, I believe.
Yeah.
In terms of, feeling safe anywhere, was there anywhere that you actually were safe physically that you went to or stayed at? Or
the most I was safe was when I was studying my Bible. That was the safest. Nobody bothered me. Nobody did anything. So, and I was curious about who Jesus was anyway, but still, the more I realized, the more I was in my Bible, or if I was singing, if I had gone into the den and turned on the equipment and was singing.
yeah.
So I did that a lot. And whether I had the microphone or not, I was always singing. because at that time I felt like, okay, I can do this. Yeah, I know I've said the first time I tried suicide, I was 4. I tried a lot of times. But one time I think I was almost there. And because I decided one day I'm just not waking up. I'm just going to stay asleep. I didn't know you could really die like that. I was a teenager. I think I was like 16 or something. And I was like, I'm not waking up anymore. I'm done. And every time I tried to wake up, I would just force myself to go back into a sleep. And because there was a period of time where nothing saw what happened, and then it felt like someone just pushed me into the bed, and it was on a Saturday. And I know it was Saturday because I was like, we don't have school. I'm not getting up. And I remember my sister being in my room, in my mom's room, and they were talking. And I remember thinking, they have each other. No one likes me. I have no friends. No one wants me here. Why do I keep getting up? And I felt, it was probably Holy Spirit, but I felt a push so hard into the bed, I could feel the springs. And I jumped up and I was like, who pushed me? And they said, we weren't even in the room. We're the only 3 people here. So who pushed me? And I was like, okay, God, if you want me here, then show me what I'm supposed to do. Because I don't feel like I have a purpose. And I'm grateful now it didn't work, but
I'm grateful it didn't work. Look at your purpose.
Yeah,
Wow.
I am pushing, and I kept pushing, and I said, okay, the little pieces of hope that I got, I held on to that. And I said, okay, I can focus on this until tomorrow. And then it was as if every day I found a different thing to focus on until here. I did spend a lot of time depressed, but I did fight too, you know, until I knew something different. And then when I knew the difference, I would do better. And I really wish I knew then what I know now, because I really would have believed that there was more to me than just existing.
Yeah.
I just survive.
And wow, I totally agree with you. And I also think when we're meant to face into what's happened or deal with it in a different way, we're shown that path. And it might be through a person, it might be through a billboard, it might be through something that somebody says. And if you had known all that back then, it may have turned out differently, and you may not have had the incredible research material actually that you have for the books you've written. So in some ways, how do we know we're in the right place? Because we're here.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a real gift. And wow, look at you and how you're giving back, and the people you must be helping. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on and what you're doing out there now?
And rewriting. I've been rewriting all of my books because, well, number one, I started finding myself rushing through them, and I didn't want to do that. So I want to tell the story better. And especially with the first 4, it was a hard story to tell. So I kind of left some stuff out. At first, it was only a trilogy because I left a whole section out. I was like, I'm not writing about that. I don't want to. We're just going to put this here and that there. And it was bothering me. So I said, I'm going to do it again. We're going to do it right this time. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to do them all right this time. So I may not have to rewrite all of them, but I want to present them better and put it in my best, make it look like my best work and not just haphazardly do stuff because I don't feel like I'm good enough and nobody is going to get it or whatever. So when my mindset changed and shifted, I had to redo it. But now they're going to be better. And I've gotten more stories and I have more nonfiction books. Like I mentioned, the Munchausen's. There's another one I wrote called Count It All Joy. It's a book about when I took 3 days to choose joy, regardless of what was going on, made me, because I just got tired of being depressed all of the time, all day, every day. It wears me out. So I was like, if I am going to have an impact, if I'm going to help anybody, I gotta help you. Therefore, I can't constantly be in a state of depression trying to help somebody. That doesn't work. And so I said, okay,
it's quite powerful what you're saying. An audience, isn't she amazing? Here you've been through this life, this absolutely traumatic, abusive life, and what are you doing with it? You're not sitting there feeling sorry for yourself or feeling depressed. You've actually managed to move through some stages of grief, I feel, and you're giving back, and you're giving back by speaking today. You're handing the shame back. Isn't that great? You're handing the shame back. The more you speak about it, the more it's released. But you're offering a light and a beacon of hope. You mentioned hope earlier, to others. And wow, look at you. That's just such a gift. And man, it's just so powerful to see that what you're able to do is go back into a burning building with buckets of water for the others who are still trapped. So full credit to you. What else are you doing apart from writing? I know you said earlier when you and I had a chat that you're on a speaking circuit.
I have a relaunch happening April 15th in Memphis, Tennessee. Those tickets are on sale on Eventbrite. And then I have a speaking engagement coming up in May, where I will spend about a week in Jersey doing, well, not speaking engagement, but more of a book signing, and where people will get to talk and ask questions about the books. There's something else, but I don't recall what that is. Oh, I am also bringing my event back next year called You Don't Have to Die Broken. And you don't have to. You really don't. You can actually enjoy your life, and God will restore everything that was taken away from you, so you do not have to die broken. So I'm going to put that back together and try it next year.
Wow, I don't think there's much you're not doing, but I'm just wondering, for the sake of our audience out there, do you have some things that you've found have worked for you in your journey of recovery from this trauma? And it's specific to child sexual abuse, because there's a lot of us out there, and we know things like dissociation, which you kind of mentioned earlier, things like feeling triggered or trapped or unsafe or depressed or fully aware of who's out there and what's happening, or feeling isolated and alone and different. All of those things we can relate to as CSA survivors. I'm just wondering, it would be really helpful to know, Genisha, what are some of the things you've done that have helped you, I guess, move through this and get the healing moving? What's worked for you?
I don't want to rule out prayer and stuff, but I was able to get therapy. And like I said, I have an amazing mentor who happens to be who happens to have a degree in psychology. Even though she's not a doctor, she's very good at being one. And then I had a therapist, and I still have a therapist, and they talked me through panic attacks. They talked me through disassociation, where I separate myself from everything, and they help me reconnect to what's in front of me instead of disappearing into my daydreams, which I used to do. And I still daydream a lot, but I don't allow it to separate me from what's going on in the world anymore, which is taking a lot of practice, because there are times I really have to like bring myself, recenter myself to remember not to disassociate.
Yes, I can imagine that would be really hard sometimes.
Especially if it's a topic I don't like. I used to change the subject, but God has placed people in my life that won't let me change the subject. They will go with me and bring it right back. And so that writing has been a huge help. Writing and singing are my huge helps.
Yeah.
Because
can I yeah. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just think it's really important for you and for the audience to give ourselves permission at times. When we think of dissociation, we think it's because we're in a situation we don't always want to be. To be honest, guys, we can actually be in a room where someone's going on and on about something, and we think, let me out of here, and we can't get out of there.
Yeah.
So there's the shopping list in the head, Genisha. So I just think sometimes it's actually okay to have that as well. But anyway, I just thought it's important because sometimes dissociation serves us to keep us safe, but other times it can actually be quite normal. And I think, sometimes we have to come back when someone's saying, well, so what did you think, Gloria? And I think, oh, what did you say?
I wasn't listening. I have no idea.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yes, I've done that, especially if I'm in a room and I feel like I don't want to hear if people are talking about me or making fun of me. So I will stay to myself. I will daydream. I will stay out of their faces, so to speak, and realize that that wasn't even the case.
So the story you tell yourself, and I think that's another piece of gold, guys. The story we tell ourselves is often not always true. And what we bring into any kind of perception of a situation is always what our history has been, what our conditioning was, how we were seen and treated, and also what's kind of top of mind for us. So I actually think that's a really useful point you've raised as well, Genisha. That whole thing about the story we tell ourselves is not always the story. And can you tell us about an experience where that has happened for you?
Oh, shoot, I have a lot of those. Okay, so recently I'm learning how to accept friendship when it is genuine. I was so used to being rejected and people putting me down or making fun of me that I assumed everybody would. And when I began to meet the friends that are in my life now, I just assumed they don't want me around. They don't like me. They're just being nice. And so I began to separate. And they would ask me, where are you going? What are you doing? And I was like, oh, I just figured you guys wanted to. No, you too. And so I realized the lies I was telling me that they don't like me, they don't want me around, were just that lies. And when I was around and I was relaxed and I was myself, they actually liked who I was or
Oh,
who I am. And I was like, wow, they really like me. Okay. And I would have missed out on really good friends because I was stuck in yesterday when people were mistreating me and calling me names and all that stuff. So, yeah, I'm still learning how to receive friendship as much as I'm willing to give it. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And I had no
oh,
idea.
I'm so
I had
excited to hear you say that. The joy, the joy.
yeah, it is a lot of fun. And I was like, wait, I have friends. That is so cool. And I still struggle with rejection in that I'm learning just because they can't show up or we don't hang out or do whatever, it doesn't mean they don't like me. People are busy, they have lives, they're doing things. But that rejection will try to creep in there once in a while. And no, that's not true. Not true.
And actually, it's so powerful. And thank you so much for sharing that, because I think that's another hallmark, actually, of CSA child sexual abuse survivors is sometimes what happens is because we feel so traumatized and different, and not part of what's seen as normal, we can do what children automatically do, which is turn ourselves bad before the rest of the world does. And it sounds like that's what you were doing. Before people could hurt you, you're going to get in and you're going to make sure they don't ever get the opportunity. So we call
Right.
it, we turn ourselves bad. And you'll see it in children, actually. It plays out and plays out. The naughtiest kid in the playground, the kid that's always seen as no one wants to be his friend, will often be the one that's misbehaving, always in trouble, and will give not any teacher or parent or safe adult an opportunity to ever see what's going on, because they're going to turn themselves bad before any of those people can. And it
Right.
sounds like what we do is we can carry it through into adulthood, Genisha, which is what you've just described, where, nah, I'm going to keep myself safe by telling myself the story in the head, and I'm going to make sure they can't get through that defense. And it's just another way we can protect ourselves. So, audience out there, just be aware if you recognize any of that in yourselves. Genisha's shone a light on it today for us, and it's really useful, because can we ever change what happened? No, we never can, but we can change how we see what we are now doing about it. Um, mm. So, therapy, dissociation, writing, singing, having friends that, yay, you're letting them in your life. What else has kind of helped you or helping you on your journey?
And the most important is my relationship with God.
Yeah.
Constantly talking to him and allowing him to love me and to show me what his love is, and that it has nothing to do with where I was or what I was around. And that that feels good. That feels amazing. Like, okay, so you don't think disgusting, cool. you know, um, and even asking him to forgive me, but or, and I know it's weird to say forgiving God because he doesn't do anything, but I felt like he should have done something to stop it. But when as he's given us all a free will, he wouldn't went back on it. He can't stop what someone else wills to do because that will be interfering with their free will. And but he's kept me. I remember praying that it would keep me from that he would keep me from hating people and hating him, and that I wouldn't lose my mind behind what was happening. And so far that I haven't done that. So I was like, okay.
That's
And it made it
fantastic.
easier to forgive and everything, because I think I really, really, for real forgave in 2018. It took a while and I had to keep doing it. But 2000, no, it was 2020
Wow.
when my dad got sick and I thought we were losing him. And I was like, I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. I'm not angry. It's okay. Now, what he did was wrong. That part wasn't okay. But I don't want to be angry about it anymore. And I asked God to give me a chance to have a relationship where I actually loved, so that
Wow.
we could have a loving father-daughter relationship and
And
not have him die and have regrets about that. So
it's
that's been
incredible. Do when you in 2020 decided to forgive, was there a reaction in your body at that time? Did you feel,
felt
was there a
lighter.
release? Yeah.
I felt a whole lot lighter. Like
Yeah.
I lost a whole lot of weight at one time. My chest wasn't tight. Um, I just felt really light and free and even a little bit happier.
Oh,
Like, oh, I don't have to worry about this anymore.
that's so
So
cool. I think, and and again, you're just the gift that keeps giving, Genisha. You keep coming up with these great things for our audience to ponder on and reflect about as well. You've brought up a spiritual aspect of healing and recovery, and I think that's really a value to people. In my humble opinion, God is in your life and works closely with you. I have angels. Some people have Buddha. Some people believe there's a universal benevolence or love. Um, I don't judge or choose to, you know, condemn or support any particular belief, because to me it's all the journey home. It's all about what's inside of us that can be nurtured and built. For those of you out there who do have a spiritual belief, the power of that is that you have something unseen beyond you which can help support and carry you through. And in those dark, traumatic times, when those flashbacks hit us, when we're triggered again, sometimes it's just so beautiful to be able to call on that. So if you have that in your life, that's amazing. If you don't and it's not for you, that is exactly what that is as well. And I think when we're ready for these things, they appear, and maybe it may not be in this lifetime, but I think we certainly need to be gentle with ourselves and work out, for instance, in Genisha's case, the most powerful part of her healing was having the spiritual belief and the spiritual component, God in her life. So really appreciate you sharing that with us. Is there anything else you would like to share with our audience or add to what you've been able to bring forward today that may, anything else you would like to add or say that you think is important to you?
Sure. The one thing I would like to say is this doesn't happen overnight. I used to hear about how people would overcome this, that, or the other thing. And to me, they made it sound like, one day I was addicted to drugs and the next day I was free. I'm not saying that God can't, and I've seen him do it where instantly somebody was delivered from one thing or another. But for the most part, it's a journey. There were so many times that I fell in the book Munchausen's. I talk about relapsing, where there are days where I am great, and then there are days I relapsed. I went back into depression. I went back into the woe is me. But the practice of focusing on what's good, the practice on focusing on what is of good report, what's lovely, what could happen, how can I make this better? It gets better the more you practice it. So it's not that you won't have a bad day or two or three. It's just pushing through those bad days to get to the good ones so you can keep practicing having the good ones so you can have more of the good ones than you do the bad ones. I heard myself the other day in a customer that I had who, no matter what I said, she had a reason why it wouldn't work. And I couldn't get angry with her because I heard what I used to sound like. And I was like, God, did I sound like that? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And then I realized people don't have it easy. They just decide to do it anyway, whether it's hard or not, because they choose to be happy regardless. And it's a work. It hurts. Doesn't feel good all the time. Joy is not a good feeling. Joy is an action, and it's something you have to decide sometimes all day and sometimes not so much all day, because the more you do it, the easier it is to have it. And so please don't give up. If you fall, get back up, try it again, kind of like a baby walking who falls and gets up and laughs and then falls and gets up and laughs and falls and gets up and laughs until they can walk. I'm still clumsy. I just laugh and keep going. So just keep going, keep moving, keep going. I believe a vision in motion stays in motion. So that dream you're going after, that thing you love to do, that no one has to make you do, that gives you life, go for it. And it may not work out at first. I've done 54 lives with nobody, but I'm still doing them because I promised me I would do 100 days. And the more I do them, the better I get and the more I'm loving it. And I'm showing up for me. I'm keeping my promise to me. And I didn't realize how important that was until I started doing it. So keep going, keep moving. If you need to reach out, I'm on Facebook. You can reach out anytime. I will talk, I will listen, whatever you need me to do. But please don't stop. Don't stop. Don't let the enemy, don't let the darkness, don't let anybody trick you into believing you are not wanted. You are needed. And what you have, someone else needs to hear it. They need to see it. They need to feel it. They need to think it. And if you're not here to give it, then you'll miss them. So please, 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 please keep moving forward.
It's amazing and so powerful and true. And all of Genisha's links will be in the show notes. So yeah, just go to below the show notes and you will see her links there. Thank you for that. It's interesting you say that joy is a choice. I think we just have to remember as well that the love we give ourselves, we can only give from a deep love from ourselves. So we must give to ourselves. The love we give to others is a reflection of that. You know, sometimes hurt people hurt, but those that are healed and on the way to recovery can find compassion for others because they've learnt to find some for self. And I think that's really valuable as well. So I just want to thank you so much, Genisha, for your fabulous words of wisdom and joining us all the way from people from Memphis. So exciting. What can you stay on the line, please? And I'll just end the show with our callers today.
Okay.
So thank you once again. You've been amazing.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So, audience out there, we've been very blessed today, actually, to have Genisha share with us. And gosh, we all have so many different variables on our journey. The core thing out of this show is, of course, we support and believe you, and we are handing the shame back. We've done it again today, and that lifts me. So if you are a survivor of child sexual abuse and you would like to be on the show, please feel free to subscribe and share. The more people that hear about this, the more we can help. The second aspect of this is, if you want to be on the show, go to gloriamasters.com and fill in the online form, and it would be my pleasure to host you. So until we meet again, lots of love and light to all of you. Remember, you're not alone out there. Even if they have big white fluffy wings, they're around you. So enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.